So how can we avoid inactivity? Let's speak to the fitness instructor, Hollie Grant. She's also the founder of Pilates PT, a Pilates training studio based in London. Hollie, thanks for coming in. I'm quite surprised by this because this report says that in wealthier countries, exercise levels are falling. And yet I feel like I'm surrounded by people who are all massively into exercise.
I think there's definitely two divides. There's the people who really embrace it and get very involved in the wellness industry and the fitness scene. And then there are the people who work really long hours. The fitness scene maybe is quite intimidating for them. They don't have the energy. And so they kind of just slowly fall by the wayside.
What about for those of us who don't find it the most interesting thing to do? And therefore, with all the best intentions in the world, you start something and you don't quite continue it, and that's the problem for lots of us. We find an excuse not to go running or play tennis or whatever.
Yeah, I agree. I think that there's a lot of reasons why people might not get into exercise at all, but there are a lot of people who had negative relationships with it, maybe at school. It wasn't particularly motivating. I hear that a lot from women as well. And so I think it's finding the exercise that you enjoy. You know, if you don't like spinning, you don't have to go spinning. Find the one type of exercise that you do get motivated by. And it's also realizing that lots of different things constitute physical activity. So gardening counts, you know, walking the dog counts. It doesn't have to be an expensive fitness class.
Has the Instagram culture changed this for the better? Because you see young teenagers now utterly obsessed, especially the girls, of course, with how they look. Presumably that's helped your business.
In some ways, yes. It's come across as a very inspiring industry to work and be involved in. But actually, if you think of the images that young girls are seeing of women exercising or people exercising, they're always very airbrushed, they're very beautiful, wearing very expensive clothing. And actually, that's not the reality of what we look like when we exercise. You know, we do sweat, we go red, and we might wear our ex-boyfriend's T-shirt. That's the reality, but girls aren't seeing that. So when they don't look like that, they feel that they're obviously abnormal.
Now, the recommendations for what we should all be doing, I mean, it's quite a lot of time per week, isn't it? If you fall behind by Wednesday, the temptation is just to give up and have a bar of chocolate, isn't it? I mean, how do we shake ourselves out of that? We all know what we should be doing, but we're just not doing it.
I think it's realising 150 minutes of moderate exercise or activity does sound a lot, but when you realise the things that count, you realise you can build it up quite quickly. You know, if you walk 15 minutes to get the bus and 15 minutes back every day, and you do that 5 days a week, you know, you're done. So it's working out.
But how fast do you have to be walking? You've got to be almost running, haven't you?
No, so moderate activity. So we need either 150 minutes of moderate activity, and that would be, you know, walking quite fast, gardening, cycling relatively slowly, or 75 minutes of vigorous activity, and that would be running or jogging.
Can we set up our houses and our lifestyles and our jobs differently so that it is just incorporated? Because we are all so much more sedentary, even children, to kind of force them to play outside now rather than sit and look at a screen. It's a battle.
Yeah, it's very difficult because if you think nowadays we can order something through a certain website and it will be there the next day. You don't have to do your food shop anymore. So it's maybe starting to take a step back and stop using so many automated avenues, and also, yeah, managing screen time for children, maybe saying you can have half an hour on your computer, but I also want you to go walk the dog for half an hour.
And just finally, any difference between men and women? Very quickly?
Yes, I believe that the figures of it's worse for women, and that tends to be that they're maybe at home looking after the children, or maybe they're just not inspired at all.
Hollie Grant, thanks very much indeed. Well, we're going to turn to someone who I imagine is super fit. You've got all the sports news. You look fantastic. I'm sure you are doing lots of exercise all the time.
I definitely could be doing